We have a number of questions that have come from some of the sessions that we've had, some of the information sessions that we've had throughout the community, and we had collected some of these questions, and these questions come from citizens of our communities. So I'm going to start by asking the panelists a number of questions, and if you have any that you want to send in to us as well, we'll try and get those as well into the webcast here. I'd like to start by asking the Deputy Glenn Hare to answer this question if he'd like to, and if any of the other panelists can assist in answering that question, by all means, please do so. This question comes from a citizen of one of our communities. What is the difference between a First Nation constitution and the Anishinaabe Nation constitution, or the Anishinaabe Chinooka?
Oh, me good, Mike. I guess when we were doing the community visits, Niingani, as I've been saying, and the information I've been relaying to everyone, we don't have one right now. None of our communities or the Anishinaabe Nation has a constitution. So, an example is my community again, you know, and if there was one of the Anishinaabe Nation and we had an issue and the problem in our community, I would feel very good to approach the Anishinaabe Nation and help me on our situation on behalf of that's happening within our community. At the same time, you know, we're striving as individual communities to write our own constitution, because when that day does come, the First Nation individual constitution will supersede the Anishinaabe Nation should there an issue come before us. The First Nation constitution will be stronger, and that will supersede the Anishinaabe Nation one. So with that, that's our message there, and we need a starting point. Right now we don't have one, and if it's to have one to Anishinaabe Nation, that's what we have to do. We do have some First Nation communities working on theirs as we speak, as we sit here tonight, but they're still in draft form, so we need a lot of work to do yet.
Mike, if I may interject as well. You know, we always hear the saying, you know, there's strength in numbers and there's strength in unity. And I think, you know, we're being very clear that the First Nations are paramount in this process, and that, you know, the Anishinaabe Nation will take its direction from the leadership and from the citizens of our communities. But at the same time, you know, there are times when, you know, economies of scale and the collectivity of doing things on a global nature are more conducive to getting results. We have you know, collective rights, and so we have a lot of things in common among all the communities that we represent. So, you know, instead of doing things 39 times in 39 ways, sometimes, you know, there are ways that we can simplify things by doing things collectively. And I think this is the role that, you know, we'll see the Anishinaabe Chinooka go. There are many areas that we can do, you know, to economize and to organize and coordinate more effectively, you know, the work that we have to do to build our communities. You know, sometimes it's, well, somebody has to break the path. You know, there are communities that are all different stages of development, stages of progress in their governance. So we can learn from each other. You know, those communities that are maybe more advanced economically, you know, will break the trail for those that you know, are just beginning to look at their economy. Those that have done great strides on their governance models will be able to bring others forward and bring them along. So I think that's where the strength lies in what we're trying to do here. You know, in coordinating and pulling together, you know, a coordinated effort here on how we see ourselves, governing ourselves, not only at the community level, but collectively as the Anishinaabe people. So Mike, I just wanted to add those comments.
Chief Day had a comment as well. Chief Day, please.
Thank you, Mike. And the question is what is the difference between local constitutions and the Anishinaabe Nation Constitution?
Yes.
And again, I think it's really important to recognize that recently in the Crown First Nation gathering that the Prime Minister had noted to the rest of Canada and to the rest of the world that this Conservative government in fact is not interested in doing away with the Indian Act. Well, what does that mean for Anishinaabeg? Well, Anishinaabeg have undertaken this work for many decades as described here, but what that means in a pragmatic sense around our nation building process is that the establishment of local level constitutions is the very process that our communities have to go through to ensure that we can slowly remove ourselves from the shackles of the Indian Act. And what the local level constitution is also going to do is it's going to ensure that the process by which we're working with the federal government on parts of the Indian Act is going to lay out that we've went to our community, that we've begun the work necessary to start the process of actually changing our local level institution. Now, what the Anishinaabe Nation Constitution, we call Nagodwe Wagas of Anishinaabe, which is the preamble, it now sets out at a collective level our languages, our central governments. It's going to streamline where we're at in 5, 10, 15, 25 years in terms of our government's elections. It's going to look at how we select our Grand Council Assembly, and it's going to deal with the broader issues of institution development, because again, as the Grand Chief had indicated, finding economies of scale and ensuring that we have institutions that are strong and powerful, strength in numbers, is what the broader Constitution is all about.
English Chief Dave. I had a question sent in from a viewer tonight, and I'm going to direct that question to the legal counsel, Marty Bayer. And the question from the viewer is this: if you have land on a First Nation given to you from an ancestor, are you able to sell that land? Marty.
Miigwech Mike and Miigwech to the band member that sent in the question. I think it's an important question, and I think it really highlights why we need to look at our own constitution, both at the Anishinaabe Nation level here and also at our community First Nation levels, because currently how land is transferred on our reserves is all set out and governed by the Indian Act, which is not our legislation, and we had no input into that. And so one of the reasons, of many reasons why we're looking at developing our own Chinooka-Nagawans at our First Nation community, at our First Nation level, and at the Anishinaabe Nation level, so that we can put in place the kinds of laws that we need so that people can transfer land from one band member to the other under our own land management regime. Because if we don't do that and we don't assert the powers that we have as First Nations and as the Anishinaabe Nation, then other governments will put those laws in place for us, like the First Nation Lands Management Act, for example, and the Indian Act. And so this Anishinaabe Chinooka-Nagawan and our First Nation Chinooka-Nagawans are really important, because they're the first steps that we take in enacting our own laws to govern how land is transferred, for example, in response to the question that was posed by the viewer. But I also just want to add a couple of comments in support of what our Grand Council Chief was saying about, sometimes looking at the efficiencies of looking at enacting laws under our Constitution as a way of dealing with problems that we all face as First Nation communities, and there couldn't be a better example of that than what happened today, or what was in the expositor today. Just today, you had the Chaging First Nation taking some, the step of banning the Children's Aid Society from its reserve, and it was a direct result of the way that Ontario enforces that Ontario Child and Family Services Act, and in fact, that happened right over here in Sault Ste. Marie. But it's not a problem that Chaging alone faces. All of our First Nation communities face the problem of too many children being taken from our communities, and when that happens, they begin to lose a sense of who they are as children and what their culture is. And when you see the kinds of laws that we can enact under the Constitution, it says we can enact any laws necessary in order to protect and preserve our Anishinaabe culture, our languages and customs. And so what we're saying through this Chinoknagewin is that we don't want no more of those other laws coming into our communities. We will put in place our own laws that we need to put in place so that children are not taken from our communities. Now, we can do that 39 times, or we could do it collectively and maybe someday have a Anishinaabeg Nation Child and Family Services Act. So these are some of the things we can do and some of the things we can think about as we look at examining this Anishinaabe Chinoknagewin. So, miigwech, Mike.
Miigwech, Martin. I had another question from another viewer that was sent in to us this evening, and I'd like to direct this question to Grand Chief. The question is, what will happen in June? What is the Grand Council deciding on? Who will be there? And will government officials be invited? Grand Chief.
Normally, at the Grand Councils, the main people involved in the decision making obviously are the chiefs of our First Nations who have been elected by the citizens of our communities. And they'll be the prime decision makers at this particular forum. Obviously, we're encouraging our citizens to attend. We always will have a delegation of a number of elders, youth, women, people from the urban community. There have been invitations sent out to other levels of government. There have been dignitaries coming even from China in this particular Grand Council. But the main focus and the main players that will be involved will be our community leadership. And what is going to happen there in June? There's a number of things going on. Obviously we are going to be reporting on activities that's going on, working on behalf of First Nations over the past year and responding to the directions that we received from previous Grand Councils. But we are also, this is the election year for the leadership, not only at the regional level, but for the Grand Council as well. So that is an event that is taking place as well on the second morning of the Grand Council. But the afternoon of the second day is when we're going to be proclaiming this Chinoknagewin. And it is the culmination of, as we've said, decades of work that our citizens have been involved in. This is not a new discussion. I think we go back to even our ancestors, that were involved in the treaty making process. They were there putting in place for future generations the protection of our rights. And I think this is what this exercise is about as well. As I've said, we can't rely on outside federal or provincial governments to protect our rights. And I think this is what this exercise is about, is to put in place the mechanisms where we, at the community level and at the Anishinaabe Nation level, can put in place the laws and the authorities that we want to govern ourselves. That is a right that we have that's enshrined in the Canadian Constitution. That's a right we have as an inherent right, because the Creator placed us here on this territory. It is a right we have as the original people in this land. It is a right we have as Anishinaabe.
Miigwech, Grand Chief. I'd also like to invite Elder Gordon to explain to us a little bit about the planned ceremony and how the election will take place at the Grand Council Assembly this coming June. Gordon, if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit about that to the viewers.
Miigwech, Mike. Ishkesh Navuk, Benjamin Devon. Ege Tukchinen Davut Wan. Ege Bina Shinde Chipzonetek. Ege Bina Amina Going Yamsho. Isna. Ispen Gamina we walk Matol Anishinaabe Gamina. We've been against it. Asna Gamina Shinde. The Vidu Kazu. Gamina we walk the Ban. Gamina or Gamina Knit. Gamina Anishinaabe. Eget mi vanda wani kinge naka da beyond. Eget ebi nanga mizaga swame ode. Eget ebi nanga da boga makana ka ebi nanga me vips koka da bok. Ebi na stode. Ebi na me wagi da maga swate ebi doa. Kamishin naka minto. The Vishko Mandule was a much time on call. Ebi na. Ode venti get rutta. Ebi na shinde. Ebi na me makani. Mi do shwe ebi na. Ende me. Juvik na beshi ebi na. Juvik shaga na ship se na. Na sto sinigi ni shaga na ship. Thank you for watching. I'll try to interpret, but I'm going to miss a lot. There's a lot of things that is going to be happening in Shigwenda, first weekend of June, first week of June. I think it was 1996 or 97 that there was a process that was adopted at Chiefs of Ontario in Poverty. A traditional process where 5 of us got together. The question was asked, is there anybody in the crowd that seen a traditional process to elect a person? And 5 of us got together. Few from Treaty 3, Treaty 9, and the Lake Huron region. I'm so glad that I remember an elder that seconded, Elder Ray Rogers, and he says, we should do it this year. And that's what happened at Chiefs of Ontario. It stayed there for 10 years, and I brought it down to the Union of Ontario Indians at St. Point. And you know, whoever does this in their community, whoever it is, they're going to be history making. Because INAC is going to say, what's going on? They're doing something that is not supposed to. I can't explain the whole process. We'd be here 4 hours, because that's how long it takes. But I encourage you, the ones that are in the area, in the region, to come and see yourself the process. And make sure to bring an interpreter, because when we start, it's going to be in the language.
Miigwech, Gordon. We're quickly running out of time. I know there's a lot more questions that are coming in, but we're going to have to wind up our webcast, and certainly we hope we'll be able to have many more of these webcasts as we begin to develop. So we're going to ask Grand Council Chief Patrick Madabi to give us some closing remarks for this evening, and then we'll close the webcast. Grand Chief.
Well, Anishinaabe, I want to say that we're on our path to rebuilding our nation. And, you know, I think the strength of our collective will is going to prevail here in this process. You know, we have an opportunity to have a new beginning. You know, the status quo of relying on outside governments to chart our course or to make a better life for us has not worked. It's up to us. You know, I have great faith in the Anishinaabe people. I have great faith in the strength of our people. We are a resilient people. That's why we are still here. That's why we are still in the Anishinaabe. And I think, you know, we have very talented, intelligent people in our communities that are directing where we go here in forging, you know, our nationhood. So I think it's very important that, you know, what's in store for our future? You know, let's put our faith in ourselves as the Anishinaabe. You know, let's not rely on anyone else. It's up to us to chart our future. It's up to us to make our future. So with that, I say Chimigwech, and the strength is not in the words here that are contained in these documents that we've been talking about here tonight. The strength lies in our people. And that's what is going to be, you know, the success of this thing. Because this is not a document that's been developed just by the people around this table, or it's not even been developed by our chiefs. This has been a product of thousands and thousands of our Anishinaabe citizens talking about how they see their future being forged, how they see their future as Anishinaabe people. So I say Chimigwech for viewing in tonight, and hopefully, you know, we have a few more of these types of webcasts, and I'll turn it back over to Mike.
Miigwech, Grand Chief. I want to say Chimigwech to the esteemed panelists who have assisted us here tonight. I want to say thank you very much for your very wise words. And I want to say thank you to you, the viewers, who clicked in on the link to join us in our webcast. And I especially want to thank the people of Garden River First Nation for allowing us into their territory. Thank Chief Lyle Sayers and his council for agreeing to set this up in their community. And thanks to our technicians who are behind the scenes here. You can't see them from your point of view, but they are here working with us. So thanks to the Chiefs Committee on Governance for being with us here as well tonight. Thank you and good night.
Miigwech.